start on an annoying note. Where am I?
How annoying are we talking?
Yeah, trans bathroom crap. Speaking of
I just
speaking of
covered transbat, like literally the thing I was covering as my stream died.
Well, it wasn't this exact news.
Crap. It wasn't this exact one. No, it was a turf blog.
Okay, so this one was sent to me by Jacqueline. If you have a news item that you think belongs on this show, you can send it to news@vicerhino.com. So thank you, Jacqueline, for that. So this is sorry. The way the headline is written, it makes it sound like this school is called Trans Francis Howell, which would be awesome, but it's not.
Or somebody's title is Trans Francis Howell.
Mm-hmm.
I am the esteemed Trans Francis Howell.
Naramda is now a supporting member for 3 months. It says, finally I can give money to a more deserving source instead of the fundraiser. Ooh, Naramda. Boo. But also thank you. So the school is Francis Howell. So trans Francis Howell students say proposal would make bathrooms worse. So there's a proposal on the board proposed by the board treasurer Jane Puskar that would require students to use bathrooms and locker rooms that aligned with the sex of their birth certificates.
Oh, I have information on not this specific thing, but because I was just covering the trans bathroom thing, there was a study done at Harvard that actually showed that there is a 36% rate of sexual assault in teen bathrooms when trans people are forced to be in the bathroom of their sex, basically. The rate that trans teens are sexually assaulted is 36%. So almost 4 out of every 10 trans kids getting assaulted in bathrooms.
Yeah.
That's the numbers people want.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible, and we're gonna get to that. It doesn't say sexual assault in this article, but we're definitely gonna cover something similar to that. Also, if you could send me a link to that article so I can add it to my list of trans-related research, which can be found at research.vicerhino.com. That'll take you to a Linktree list that is like it's mostly peer-reviewed scientific studies about various trans issues that get covered by the right wing all the time. It's stuff like trans people actually exist, sex is bimodal, not binary, the regret rate of surgery is like the lowest for any surgery ever.
There you go.
Stuff like that.
Okay. I just sent it to your Discord.
I will add it to the list.
I had it up from then.
I will add it to the list.
From when I crashed.
Sex and Sensibility. That's a really good video by Forest Proxy. God damn it. Is Jassa Proxy sending me that?
Forest Valkai?
It is Forest Valkai that I'm talking about.
Forest Proxy?
Yeah, Sex and Sensibility by Forest Valkai. Excellent video. Definitely take a look at that. Yeah.
On my fun fact, on that video specifically, not on this phone, because when I upgraded my phone, I lost this page and I hated it. But I had on my old phone a document that was literally nothing but notes that I took just from that video, so that I could be like, when I need, because my memory is awful. But every single time a factoid was brought up in that video that I'm like, I need that for when I'm live, jotted it down in the notes, had it ready, and it was a helpful resource. I need to make it again.
That's why I put together the Linktree list that I did, because I kept on having these same arguments with people and then forgetting which studies I was looking at for. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put it all on a list and then be like, here you go. It's on the list. Go read it.
Reminds me of that H Bomber guy segment where he was like, oh, yes, all those studies saying trans people are valid, kind of like these ones. And then just like a billion studies go by and he has them all linked in a paste bin afterwards.
I love H Bomber Guy. He's great.
He is. I had to make a video about his newest video because it made me feel things.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that was I've seen James Somerton around before. And that was the first. Like, I haven't really watched his stuff. That was the first time I've ever seen any significant amount of it. And quite frankly, like, I was kind of surprised that he's the guy who got popular, because
he sounds like he's dead.
His eyes are dead. Like, he looks like he's just a husk of a human being. That's like if you ask me what does it look like when a soulless YouTuber just plagiarizes a bunch of shit and tries to pass it off as their own because they want a low effort paycheck, I would picture him even if I had never seen him before.
Yeah, so I talked about this in my video. I kind of want to splurge on it for just a second because we're here. Why not? But when he talked about the Illuminati stuff, there was a thing that always hit me with Illuminati stuff where I went, this is the type of stuff that I want to be able to make at this rate. She's making videos at the same rate that I do videos off of my live streams. And this is the quality that I wish I could hit at this rate. And why can't I do this? I was so frustrated with myself.
She's just copying stuff. Yeah.
And it was, she's literally just copying everything. I'm like,
yeah,
that's why she's able to do it.
I remember really enjoying her stuff, but, like we've talked about her on the stream, and I think I referenced her as being like, oh yeah, she's awesome. Actually, I remember that. It actually started with me not being able to remember her name, so I was like, oh, the person with the avatar that's like the pyramid head.
Yeah, Blair.
But yeah, no, it was that was disappointing. But again, like like H-Bomber guy wasn't the person to break that news. I was already kind of aware at that point.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to this. One of the issues that I wanted to discuss here is that this person was elected to the school board with funding from a conservative PAC.
That should be illegal.
Yeah, no, PACs should not be able to donate to school board people, like school board elections or whatever. And there are 7 people on the school board. 5 of them were funded by this PAC. So that's what, like, this is one of those things where it's like, it's not just the presidential elections that matter. You got to look at all the elections, the local elections. Even if you don't have kids in the school system, you do your best to like figure out who's on the school boards and vote for the ones who aren't going to do shit like this.
It's frustrating because you hear from one side of the mouth of a ton of Republican politicians, keep politics out of our education. There's a liberal agenda in education. You hear this.
They say say that, but it's only ever the conservative PACs that are funding the school board elections.
It's almost like one side is going, well, let's let the chips fall as they may, and another side is going, let's force things through so we can pretend the world is 6,000 years old.
And the worst part about this, though, is like I'm saying, like, pay attention to your local school board elections and stuff like that. But it's fucking hard to parse the school board elections and like the smaller elections because it's not like in the state and federal elections. Generally, R is the bad guy, D is the good guy. D might not be as good as you would like, but it's better, way fucking better than R. School board elections, they're not party affiliated. They don't have to say, hey, I'm a Republican when they're running for the school board. They just say, hey, my name is Jane Puskar.
And they'll be like, I care about common sense education and bringing us back to our roots. And you're just like, that sounds reasonable. I like that. And then you realize when they mean back to our roots, they're talking about segregation or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's incredibly hard to parse out at that level. So like on the one hand, I want to be like, vote in your local school board elections, even if you don't have kids in the school. But on the other hand, it's like, I understand, like as someone with ADHD, having the follow through necessary to do the appropriate research on school board candidates to make sure I'm voting for the right one is a fucking daunting task. So like, I understand that there is a level of like I don't want to be ableistic and be like, oh no, anyone can vote in the school board elections. Because no, I understand there are like legitimate mental health issues that can make that incredibly difficult for someone. But at the same time, it's so fucking important.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why, like that specifically, when you talk about the ADHD thing, it's one of the reasons why a lot of my research I'll do passively as I'm doing something else. I'll either be listening to a documentary or listening to an audiobook or anything like that, because it's easier for me to focus on that than it is for me to bring up a study and go, okay, I can't just read the abstract and the conclusion. I need to look at more than that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the methodology is flawed and you don't know that. if you don't read it.
Oh, but one of my favorite things about ADHD is when you do start reading studies and you get hyper focused on them, and then you find like interconnections between other studies that you've read in the past, and then you find like, oh, there's this one sketchy thing here, and then that leads you down a rabbit trail of sketchiness that you're like uncovering things, and you feel like an investigative reporter.
And then you want to tell everybody about it, and nobody fucking cares.
Yeah, but I'm the one that controls my videos, so like, yeah, nobody might watch it, but I still get to make the video and put it out in the world.
That's kind of where I got today. There was a post I saw on Twitter with a PhD person reposting something about anime turning people trans, and I was like,
oh God,
I want to investigate this guy. So I found out about his politics and everything, but I found out he wasn't the one who wrote the article. So then my interest in him died away. I'm like, I don't care about you anymore, Blanchard. You're not important to me now. The writer of the article is important to me now. Oh, the writer of the article got suspended from Medium. Okay, cool. Let's go track them down. Okay, I figured out where they post their blog now. Oh, they've changed their name to something else. Okay, and then after all of that, I went, now that we're 5 minutes into the video, guys, now we can talk about the Turf blog, because this was the investigation I did on the treadmill this morning.
Nice.
So I understand, because I've been there. In different ways, but I've been there.
Okay. Ordinary Man Fishing. There's a couple typos at the beginning, which I'm going to have trouble with. Already Compla Inediblet. I'm not sure what that's supposed to say. Suris and I are accepted you being live Rhino, not an avatar, but why no bow tie? I have a bow tie in my regular videos. This is like, I'm wearing pajama pants with no underwear right now. Because like
he's already going commando for you. What more do you want?
I showered just before the stream, and I got out, and I looked in our pile of clean laundry because both me and my partner have ADHD, so the laundry almost never gets folded and put away, and I couldn't find underwear, and I'm like, fuck it. Nobody's going to see that.
Fair.
I mean, I'm wearing a collared shirt, though, so that's fancy schmancy, right?
It's at least that.
Underneath my hoodie.
I can't do the
merch.vicerhino.com. Can I
plug it up?
Plug my merch.
I can't do the not folding laundry thing because if I don't fold it, my cats get on it, and I'm allergic to my cats. So when their fur gets all in it, I can't. I had to throw away all of my shirts when I developed my cat allergy. I had to throw away all of my shirts and replace them with polyester because polyester doesn't have cat fur stick to it as much. So I used to not care about whether the laundry was folded and put up. I no longer have that luxury.
Okay, so back to this horrible piece of shit. So we got students going to the school board meetings, getting behind the podium and speaking to adults about like, hey, I'd like to just be able to use the washroom, please. Like, how, like, what at what point in that interaction do you not realize you're the bad guy if you're proposing policies that has children feel like they need to get up in front of a room of people and be like, can I please just use the washroom in peace?
Like, so the thing is, it has to be one of two things. It has to be one of two things. Either the cruelty is the point, or they've got a hero complex and they think they're saving women. It has to be one of the two things. So
one of the points that they make here is that this policy would require that schools have at least one. Now they call them where is it? They call them single-use restrooms, but I think what they mean is single user.
Or single user,
like one toilet.
Not like a porta potty that you burn when you're done.
Yeah, I'm like, single use washroom. That sounds incredibly wasteful and expensive. Like, but one of the problems is like that they outline later on in the article is that, well, first off, like if you're not comfortable going into the bathroom, that you're like, if you're a trans boy and you pass as a boy, nobody knows you're trans. They just all know you as a boy. But suddenly you will only use the single toilet. That now outs you.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that when I was covering the TERF article earlier today before my internet and computer exploded, I kind of basically went on a rant of my girlfriend is trans. But my girlfriend passes, to the point where one of my friends who was very, very conservative went, "Hey, is she pregnant?" Because she was having stomach issues, like she was throwing up. And he thought, like, "Hey, that's a sign of pregnancy. Is everything okay? Have you guys gotten checked?" Like, it's why would I expect her to go to the fucking dude's room? But why?
Ordinary Man Fishing says, "Sorry, Rhino, I'm 8 pints in at this stage," so that explains the spelling.
Rhino gets 8 pints in by the end of every show.
No, I don't. Not like. Okay, I've gone back to the baby cans.
So you lose track, is what I'm hearing.
No, I've gone back to the baby cans because I found it was too easy to overindulge a little bit with the bigger cans. Because I like when it's in front of me, I just drink. Now. But yeah, so it's easier to drink less and like, whatever. Anyway, yeah. So these kids are getting up there and saying it's discriminatory. It's going to cause a lot of harm. There's one kid get up there and talks about the medical issues that he dealt with because he was so afraid of using the washroom at school.
If you're sitting there literally just holding it in, you're just going to hurt yourself.
Well, because he'd be at school from 6:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. because he has theater activities after school and he's got stuff in the morning, and he wouldn't use the washroom the entire time. And so he ended up with urinary tract issues.
So, like, I know for a fact I can't do that. When I've got to go, it is time to go. And there's no question about it. I can't imagine being in that position where my body is screaming at me, sometimes painfully, "Hey, get the fuck out of here." And you just can't because you're worried about bad things happening to you when you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's terrible.
And the worst part is there are people who will go, "Well, that's how women feel. They're terrified of going into the bathroom because that's where the men who think they're women are." And then you have to point out to them, like, that's not what the data shows, though. The data shows that's not what happens.
The data shows there is one instance in like all of history. Well, not all of history, but like in the last like 25 years, there was one instance of a man dressing up as a woman to enter a woman's space to assault a woman. And that was in Toronto, and it was before they allowed trans women into women's spaces. So it was already illegal for him to do what he did.
It's almost as if putting up a sign, I'm going to say something very, very horrible, putting up a sign, "Please don't rape me," does not stop a rapist.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. So to think that it's going to stop somebody who wants to cross-dress and assault you, I'm sorry, but that legal veneer, that's going to be nothing but security theater. It's not going to actually make you safer. It makes you feel safer. The difference is
it's like how the airline stuff happened after 9/11. Like
taking off your shoes doesn't make you safer.
No.
This is why we point to the data all the time when this happens to go, "Look, your security theater bullshit is only hurting people as evidenced by the data. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care if you're offended. I care what the thing says."
You're getting close to being Ben Shapiro on the left here, buddy. Facts don't care about your feelings, buddy.
I'm kind of okay with that when it comes to something like this, though.
Like, I mean, when the facts are actually on your side, it works. And yeah, unfortunately for Ben, they're usually not on his side, as we'll see later on in this stream. Spoiler.
When people go like, what if the example that was given in the article was like, when you point out that it's the same thing as the segregation ideas between white and black people, when you try to force trans people into a bathroom they don't identify with, they were like, "I think that would be offensive to black people." And my only response was, "I don't think I care. I don't think I care about that. I think I care about lowering sexual assault numbers more than I care about a couple people's fifis."
Yeah. So yeah, this is where we get Collins also says he's received threats from other students and even was once assaulted in a woman's restroom at the high school, the same restroom where the new policy would require him to use. And he reported the incident, which involved a female student, but it was mostly ignored. So the fact that they care about theoretical people being assaulted when real people have been assaulted, reported it, and then basically told to go away is kind of horrendous.
They care about make-believe more than they care about reality.
That's putting it incredibly mildly. Like, no, it is a reality that trans people get assaulted when they use the washroom, especially when they're forced to use the washroom that does not align with their gender identity. So by forcing them to use the one that doesn't align with their gender identity, you are actually making washrooms more dangerous for trans people and not safer for any cis people. That's just the facts, and the facts don't care about your feelings. To quote Suris earlier.
I'm okay in situations like this. I'm okay with that. I'll take it.
And yeah, there are other kids that like they would typically ask to use the washroom during class when there's a chance that there's nobody going to be in there, but then they're missing class. And especially with the solution of like having the single stall restrooms, later on we get to one person that's talking about like, yeah, our school has one, but it's so far away from everything that for me to use that during class, I'm missing 10 minutes of class, and I don't have time to use it in between classes because we only have 5 minutes in between classes, and it takes like 5 minutes just to walk there.
And as I remember from when I was in high school, a lot of your teachers, if you came to class late, whatever the reason, there'd be a reprimand that would happen, and then you'd probably get a note sent back to your parents. And
we get Francis Howell's proposed policy would mandate each school have at least one single-use restroom available to any sex or gender, so single-user restroom. But it does allow administrators to discipline students if they abuse the restrooms and are chronically late to class. So like if you constantly have to walk the 10 minutes down the hall to get to the one washroom you're allowed to use,
and you get punished for it,
and you only have 5 minutes in between classes, then you get disciplinary action for being chronically late because they didn't provide you with a washroom that was a reasonable distance from your classroom.
And these people are... Again, it is either that these people believe that they are saving women, because it's let's be honest,
they never talk about trans. They never talk about trans men in the men's room.
No, they never do. It's never part of their conversation. They either believe wholeheartedly they are saving women, and the data suggests they're not. Actually, fun fact, there's some evidence to show, and I had it linked in a video on a different subject a long time ago, but there's evidence to show that actually the alarmism around assault actually can produce more problems because people start taking any of their vigilance and aiming it the wrong way.
Yeah, you get the Karens that are transvestigating like everyone in the washroom, and they usually end up like calling the police on cis women.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, that person was a little bit manlier than I thought a cis woman should be, therefore she shouldn't be in the women's room. And so like policies like this hurt cis women as well.
The data that was where that data was taken from was actually studies on QAnon, where people would focus all of their efforts on shit like Pizzagate instead of actually being vigilant about possible predators.
Oh,
sometimes in their own family.
You mean like how that movie, The Sound of Freedom, portrayed child trafficking in a way that child trafficking doesn't actually happen, and so is distracting from the actual issue of child trafficking rather than doing anything to help? And
it's performative.
And also, if the organization that that movie was about actually operated in the way they portray in the movie, they were actually enabling child trafficking, because one of the things that they did is they would like rent a hotel and be like, oh, we want to buy lots and lots of children, so bring all the trafficked children here and you will get lots of money for it. So like there were children trafficked. They were expanding the market. They were like, there were children that were trafficked specifically to get them to that organization that would not have been trafficked otherwise.
Yep. It's so we have a lovely rule about that called Poe's Law, actually.
Yeah.
Take an extreme enough position, it is impossible for people to tell if you're faking it or if you are really doing that. And I've made the argument before that I believe that people who are Poes, people who are taking those extreme positions for reasons of joking or otherwise, or just to piss people off online, are often just as bad as the people who are legitimately holding those positions, because they lightning rod that it's okay to have this position for those people.
Yeah. So Naramdaput says, wasn't the Sound of Freedom main character a sexual abuser? Yeah, the guy who founded that organization had to resign from it like shortly after the movie released, because it came out that when he would go on these sting operations, he would pressure women into like showering with him and sleeping with him because like, oh, we have to keep up the pretense of being a husband and wife couple. Did you not hear about that? Didn't we cover that on the stream?
I don't remember that at all. If it
might have been one of the weeks when you were gone.
It would have had to have been, because I feel like I would have remembered that. I remembered us covering the dude who helped fund it, coming out that there were issues with him, but I don't remember any of that.
No, it was the actual founder that he would tell women like, oh, we're on a sting operation to save these kids. So in order to do that, we have to stay in character the entire time, which means like we're supposed to be a couple on a romantic getaway. So we have to like shower together and sleep together. And
so it's garbage from the top to bottom.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Also, so the bathroom that's like 10 minutes away from all this person's classes. So can't use him in between classes. If he uses it during class, he is now missing 10 minutes of school when the other students aren't. So he's losing education for being trans. And then school buses leave 5 minutes after school lets out. So he doesn't have time to use the washroom then either. And then if you've ever been on a school bus while having to pee, that's not a fun time.
Every single time you hit a bump, and those school buses do not have enough shock absorption. I'm sorry.
No shock absorption. No.
No, I lived like 5 miles away from my school. I got in the habit of riding my bike to school instead of riding the bus because it was a longer experience, but it was a more pleasant one.
Yeah. So here's the statement that I just found completely fucking baffling. So this policy is policy 2116. Policy 2116 also defends the privacy and safety of everyone else who abides by the biological sex on their birth certificate. But what about the privacy and safety of those who are trans? You can't say this is about you can't say this is about privacy when it's going to like if you need to see my birth certificate before you let me into the washroom, that is not protecting my privacy. It doesn't matter what the birth certificate says.
We're just protecting your privacy. You need to understand.
Oh, my Stream Elements bots are still telling you to donate to Project Share. You can still donate to Project Share, but probably not there because the fundraiser is over.
But do it anyway.
Yeah, you can still do it. But who's carrying around their birth certificate anyway? Fennec asks. But yeah, no, they're like the school probably has records or whatever, and if they like, no, but it's a violation of privacy. There is no reason that anyone at the school should need to know what the sex is on the birth certificate. So, oh yeah, and also they the Francis Howell Family's website also includes information about like part of this policy would forbid the provision of litter boxes.
Oh God, they're still on about that shit.
Well,
that didn't happen.
If the gay furry hackers get their way, that might be necessary soon. Come on, Suris. Come on.
I realized as I was scooting away that my headphone cord was wrapped around my chair, so I actually couldn't leave my chair. So my dramatic exit was screwed up by circumstance. So
the dramatic scooting was foiled by a cord.
It was foiled by the accords.
Yeah. So the voting on the thing was tabled in order to provide board members with more time to obtain any additional information they deem applicable in making decisions around this issue. I don't have a lot of hope that this issue is not going to pass, though, because, like I said earlier, 5 of the 7 school board members were funded by the conservative PAC that got the person who proposed this thing elected in the first place.
I wonder how you would even get that how would you would even fix this situation with there being a whole bunch of conservative funded people placed on that panel. I don't even know how you would manage to overcome that. It's just like dealing with the Supreme Court shit in the United States. It's an uphill battle.
New national bill passes. Everyone who is elected to a school board with funding from a PAC, any PAC, conservative or liberal, is immediately ejected from the school board and forbidden from running for re-election. that would be an expensive solution, because people would need to, like, there need to be like all sorts of emergency elections, as like school boards like this one need to like get 5 more members. But
it would work.
You shouldn't. Yeah, it would work. You shouldn't, like, you shouldn't get that kind of funding for a school board election.
It's the usual follow the money.
Either that or everybody should get equal funding. Like, there should be public funding available for people running for school board, and it's just the same amount of money for everybody. Like, that would be ideal, I think. And like, legally, that's the only money you can use.
Yeah, having that money conglomerated into a PAC just...
No, but I'm saying something like the federal, like, or I don't know, state. Well, I guess to make it countrywide, it would have to be federal, which would
need
all
to
the
be federal.
all the states' rights people would be up in arms against it. But
the government is trying to impose their morality.
If there was like a federal budget item for like, these are school board election funds, and like everyone who runs, like, you can say like so many people can run for the school board in any given district or whatever, and they all get the same amount of money. And that's it. That's all they get. And it's from the federal government. It's not from an organization that is going to like be wanting to pull strings on them later.
Yeah.
I know that's an idealized scenario. It's not going to pan out anytime soon.
It's what you want. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's what you want.
Yeah.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you. I'm not saying that part. And Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.